Welcome back to the Charismatic Voice. Just a few days from today marks the anniversary of Meat Loaf's passing, so I want to do a video in remembrance of him. Many of you have recommended Bat Out of Hell, which is one of his biggest hits, which I still haven't heard, so that's what we're going to check out. Let's get to it.
Valley tonight. There's a man in the shadows with the gum in his eye and a blade shining no so bright. There's evil in the air and there's thunder in the sky and a killer's on the bloodshot streets. Oh, and down in the tunnel with a deadly horizon, oh, I swear I saw a young boy down in the gutter. He was starting to foam in the heat.
I really immediately dig the storytelling element of this. It is so full of really clear lyrics. And those lyrics aren't just words going by. Each word is logging emotional value as well. He's able to fill so much expression in and just chew up this enunciation. It's great. He's very, very good at expression and enunciation. But we'll go back and talk about some of the little details that go into that greatness. Also, it's really interesting how this song starts. It feels like it's almost truncated, and it might be. I think the album version is longer than this video, so I'm wondering if it was some instrumental at the beginning that got truncated here for the music video, but I really wanted to see what they're doing with the music video because I think he's very intentional about his storytelling in music video format too. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and let's take a look at all of these awesome details. That definitely feels truncated to me, or some sort of transitional material. I love the piano in this.
Screaming and the fires are howling way down in the valley tonight. There's a man in the shadows with the gum in his eye and a blade shining no so bright.
So one of the things that I immediately noticed seeing him sing is how active his mouth is. Some people have very inactive mouths when they sing. I would particularly look at a lot of the grunge singers for this. They tend to have a little less movement going on, some more than others. But if you're having sort of more casual conversation, your mouth doesn't move this much. This is really, really rapid and exact and even exaggerated movements to get across text really, really quickly. Just a little bit more. And one of the things that I hear him doing, this is partly in the rhythm of the melody that's been written, but also in the way he's enunciating, sirens are screaming, and the fires are howling. With all of this S, so sirens screaming, and then the F of fires and howling, each of those consonants are, they're not vocalized. There's no vocal folds going wacka, wacka, wacka underneath to create a pitch. So it's just air that's coming through, no true phonation. And he's giving each a little extra puff of air to help accent that moment. See, now I'm going to go back one more time because if you listen for that, you can really hear that extra bit of air coming through. Oh, too far, but cool piano.
Valley tonight. There's a man in the shadows with the gum in his eye and a blade shining no so bright. There's evil in the air and there's thunder in the sky and a killer's on the bloodshot streets.
You can hear that extra puff underneath sibilants continue throughout as well. And then there's this sort of what I would call very characteristic Meat Loaf sound where he goes, ba, ba, sort of at the end of a phrase. It's like a slide off. I know Dio does it a little bit too, which is a great comparison. But he does a little call off where the pitch essentially just goes down. It slides down a little bit at the end of the phrase. Right there is a little bit of one. There it is again.
On down in the tunnel with a deadly horizon. Oh, I swear I saw a young boy down in the gutter. He was starting to foam in the heat.
That actually he doesn't sign off of, which is, I feel, very, very deliberate. I dig the development of this melody a whole bunch. I really feel like I'm going on a journey with it. It evolved already in this short period of time. Instead of just doing the same pattern that I'd expect to have happen over and over, there was even a little bit of harmonic evolution in there, and it makes an exciting journey already. It's a good intro. Also, I love the intensity of him and of everybody else that's behind him as well. It feels like it definitely has a certain hush to it of we're about to go on a huge journey. One more time.
The sirens are screaming and the fires are howling way down in the valley tonight.
There's that.
There's a man in the shadows with the gum in his eye and a blade shining oh so bright. There's evil in the air and there's thunder in the sky and a killer's on the bloodshot streets. On down in the tunnel with a deadly horizon. Oh, I swear I saw a young boy down in the gutter. He was starting to foam in the heat.
I love that melody.
Oh, baby, you're the only thing in this whole world that's pure and good and right. And wherever you are and wherever you go, there's always gonna be some light. But I gotta get out, I gotta break it out now before the final crack of dawn. So we gotta make the most of our one night together. When it's over, you know we'll both be so alone.
Ooh. Wow. I love there's a dramatic edge to this for sure. No, not just an edge. This is very dramatic. There's drama in the faces. There's his face, obvious, both the faces of backup singers I'm seeing as well. And also in the story, this is very dramatic. And it does bring me back to that I Would Do Anything for Love, that music video, how it felt huge, epic. And I love that. And I think this might come partly also from his musical theater background, right? Things are full of drama, especially if they're going to be on stage. So just going to move back a little bit one more time. I'm going to go back a lot in this, and this is a long song. So if you haven't already gotten something to drink, I recommend a cup of tea, some water. We're going to hang out for a while and do some more analysis.
You're the only thing in this whole world that's pure and good and right. And wherever you are and wherever you go, there's always gonna be some light. But I gotta get out, I gotta break it out now before the final crack of dawn.
I love the way he's put this kind of hush on this. I love the way I have a sense of feeling a little bit held back, like he's really about to build up, right? He's also being very close to the mic, so he's become quieter in his vocal production, but he's not wanting to lose presence. So he gets closer to the mic, so you get a quieter dynamic without necessarily losing a ton of volume.
Wherever you go, there's always gonna be some light. But I gotta get out, I gotta break it out now.
Those consonants.
So we gotta make the most of our one night together. When it's over, you know we'll both be so alone. Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning comes. But when the night is over, like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone, gone, gone. But like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning comes.
I have to say that this, when it started into the chorus, I think, it sounds a little bit familiar. So I probably heard this when I was a kid somewhere. Never did any deep analysis, really, truly. This is the first time I'm diving deep on it. And I haven't heard it in a very, very long time. There's something familiar about it. So I don't know, maybe it was in a film somewhere. Yeah. I do have to say, Bat Out of Hell is one of the inspirations for the recent Singing Hole video, which talks about bat vocalizations and how they're like metal vocalizations in this really crazy, amazing way that was just recently released in a research study. So anyhow, it's super, super cool. And if you want to learn more about bat vocalizations and how they're like metal vocalists, you should check that out on the Singing Hole. Let's get back to this. Well, let's go back to the chorus. There we go. Ooh, I want to go back and talk about how he is being expressive with his pitch while maintaining an underlying bass pitch. And so you know what pitch his melody is on all the time, even though he's having little excursions from it. And these excursions are partly what makes his voice so expressive. The pitch is established partly by him and partly also by the chorus behind. They have it going the whole time just really, really clearly. But then every now and then, especially if he's adding a bunch of air with a consonant, the pitch will go a little bit sharp, or he'll do that thing where he's sliding off. But I think it's a very effective sound overall, especially when you have the chorus behind, because you would say, oh man, he's singing on that pitch the whole time, when actually he's waving around it to bring us more story. Let's go back to that. Oh man, I'm going to go back quite a ways here. You really hear it on gone there. Gone, gone, gone is more of like what he's singing rather than just a stable pitch. So essentially the pitch jumps up a little bit, and then he'll come back and spend more time on what the true pitch would be in that situation. But you have people behind that are also reinforcing what that is, and that allows him to have a greater excursion. That's such a good pop. There's that slide down. Wow. Gates of heaven, I'll come crawling on back to you. Know where your camera is. Beautiful shift in the tempo there. I miss having lots of songs that shift and play with tempo. I feel like it's something we need to really come back to. There are some artists that are doing that in a lot of the mainstream pop music. There are a few. I'd like to see more of it. Let's go back. The gates of heaven, I'll come crawling on back to you. I'm gonna hit the highway like a battering ram on a silver black phantom bike. Oh, when the metal is hot and the engine is hungry, I'm all about to see the light. Nothing ever grows in this rotten road hole, and everything is stunted and lost. And nothing really rocks, and nothing really rolls, and nothing's ever worth the cost. So it's so interesting to hear this versus the earlier style of singing. Remember, I talked about it feeling more hushed, where he was holding back. There was essentially more airflow and less of this like more pressed connection in the vocal folds. And then here he's got a lot more fold closure, which is allowing less air to come through in the sound. And we're getting more direct. It's not just more direct. There's greater volume in it, or greater, like a louder dynamic. And it doesn't feel like it's something that's intimate, personal, hushed up close, right? It feels like it is projected a lot further. Oh, let's go back just a little bit more. Right, a lot more holler. I love that. I love that line. Nothing really rocks and nothing really rolls, and nothing's ever worth the cost. I'm gonna hit the highway like a battering ram. Ooh. Oh man, I know that this is in a lot of ways about a motorcycle accident. I'm gonna hit the highway when the metal is hot and the engine's hungry. We're about to see the light. Wow. It really feels like we're about to approach a very desperate moment. And I think that Meat Loaf's voice is reflecting that desperation. And I think that if we're just talking physically about what that desperation might sound like, I think that having more of that full closure and holler sound is something that we've naturally evolved to have when we're more desperate sounding. Everything is started and lost, and nothing really rocks, and nothing really rolls, and nothing's ever worth the cost. And I know that I'm damned if I never get out, and maybe I'm damned if I do. But with every other beat I got left in my heart, you know I'd rather be damned with you. Well, if I gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned, dancing through the night with you. Well, if I gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Dancing through the night, dancing through the night, dancing through the night with you. I love the way this feels over the top, but at the same time, it just feels like a crazy anthem. You're like, it sounds like somebody is so excited to love another person all night long. It's like, it's a sad story that I feel is coming up, but wow, there's a lot of passion in this first part, and somehow a lot of fun, a lot of recklessness too. You know I'd rather be damned with you. Now I want to go back further. Shoot. So there's this thing he does on the word out. It almost feels like he drops down into a lower register when he goes into the word out, get out. And it suddenly expands into this more chesty area. It's like he allows just more chest voice to come through, but really, it's like he opens up an additional chest resonance. I know that I'm damned if I never get out, and maybe I'm damned. That's cool. I got left in my heart. You know I'd rather be damned with you. Well, if I gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned, dancing through the night with you. Well, if I gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Gotta be damned, you know I wanna be damned. Dancing through the night, dancing through the night, dancing through the night with you. It's awesome how they have that parallel octave happening in there with her as well. It adds to that passion for sure. I just keep thinking about how Meat Loaf is playing with that pitch and how much he really does go away from it while still telling us exactly what pitch he's singing. I just don't know how many singers today we would hear bring this much excursion. And that's because we see so much pitch correction. And I think that pitch correction has its place. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think it's, especially melodyne, is so essential for a cappella music in particular. But this epic ballady kind of voice, oh man, it's like, I don't know that I would want to touch that with pitch correction, because it's so cool when you get all of this extra expression. So I'm curious where the trend's going to go in the future, and if we're going to get more singers like Meat Loaf that we wouldn't correct at all. Ooh, dance time!
Oh, baby, you're the only thing in this whole world that's pure and good and right. And wherever you are and wherever you go, there's always gonna be some light. But I gotta get out, I gotta break it out now before the final crack of dawn. So we gotta make the most of our one night together. When it's over, you know we'll both be so alone.
I love that we still got so much presence in his voice, even though that pitch was much lower. Good, nice control of the focus in that lower register. We'll keep going.
Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when I'm on it home. Oh, when the night is over, like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone, gone, gone. Like a bat.
That, look at the way all of them are working for that G on gone, gone, gone. I bet the direction was to enunciate that G like crazy. I love the way they accented the offbeats there. It's super, super exciting. This feels just so glorious and sung with abandonment and played with abandonment. Oh, further. Such beautiful closure. That is so satisfying. That section is just like, yes, bring it. I love the feeling of that. I love the way that we get that break of sound and then the big crash as well. So we got that clearing and then the feeling of the sound spilling over anew, which is just fantastic. And what I was mentioning right before that is the vocal fold closure that he's got here. It's just such a good fundamental sound, right? It's got ring on the sound. There's efficiency that I hear. It just sounds like those vocal folds are coming together super beautifully, which is great when you hear all of the other things and expressive things he's adding to it. You just know that his ground zero is great singing.
Before the gates of heaven, I'll come crawling on back to you.
I read somewhere, I think that the sound of this motorcycle was made by a guitar. I think. It's such a cool sound. Wow. That's impressive. That's a good sound. Like, you can tell it doesn't sound exactly like a motorcycle, but it's so close that you know exactly what it's portraying. Also, it's so beautiful, once again, the way he gathers his voice when he goes down into the slow register and focuses it. And the tempo shifts too. It's just got so much going on that's great as far as vocal technique goes. And then also musicality and composition.
A sinner before the gates of heaven, I'll come
I like his vibrato too.
on back to you.
That's so cool. Ooh, I love the way that exploded. Ooh, I like the way that built into this solo. It's what a good incorporation of sound design into music. Really cool. Oh yeah, the distortion there at the end too, and just the way that it builds up and then flows over into Meat Loaf singing. Good. Wow. I can't stop thinking of you, and I never see the sun until it's way too late. And there's your example of a diphthong. Late, right? Two vowel sounds combined into one. Late. Most people don't even think about it, but when you sing it, you have to think about it and say, okay, where am I going to put these two vowels so that people still understand the word late? Late or late. Anyhow, obviously he chooses to linger on the second one quite a bit. Well, I can't stop thinking of you, and I never see the sun until it's way too late. Wow. And I never see the sun until it's way too late. Whoa. I definitely think there is nothing held back. And I love that. That is excellent. That's what it should be. Of course, to give the whole trajectory, you hold back at the beginning, but as it gets going, you just gotta let it rip. Gotta let it out. And this Meat Loaf is a very generous performer. He lets things flow and is giving a ton to his audience and just letting the music take him away. I love it. Then I'm down at the bottom of the pit in the blazing sun, torn and twisted at the foot of a burning bark. Ooh. Man, I was loving the sort of reckless feeling of the song, and now I feel sad that this driver was so reckless. I really feel that he's put music, portrayed the feeling of thrill at driving fast extremely well, and then also suddenly here I feel the sadness of it and the danger of it immediately. Part of that, again, is due to that tempo shift and due to his tonal shift as well. It's so great to hear this back and forth, the faster and slower tempo. Let's go back a little bit.
bottom of the pit in the blazing sun.
Oh, wow. The expression on sun.
In the blazing sun. Torn and twisted at the foot of a burning bark. And I think somebody somewhere must be tolling a bell. And the last thing I see is my heart still beating, breaking out of my body and flying away like
Wow. Wow. The lyrics here are really touching and very vivid. I'm also listening to, especially the percussion, what they've chosen to leave in. That was really interesting. I think it sounded like maybe toms, but maybe a different kind of lower, bigger drum that was in there. You get just like a little bit of cymbals, but a lot of the percussion is taken out at this moment. Makes sense because percussion has a lot of driving energy, so that will come back in when it speeds back up. If it speeds back up. I think it's going to speed back up. It sounded like it was building too. Let's go back to this part. That's that lower drum I was talking about.
And I think somebody somewhere must be tolling a bell.
Wow, and all those slides off again. It's Meat Loaf. It's his signature sound.
Still beating, breaking out of my body and flying away like a bat out of hell.
A Toronto! Wow, I love the way they brought back that offbeat crash again, right? It had that abandonment, but like in a sort of gut-wrenching way. And then additionally, I hear the build and the percussion that's happening, and I hear the way he's just wailing in his voice. It's so extraordinary how this wailing, instead of being exciting and like, yeah, we're gonna drive faster, how it's turned into this absolute dread, like a weepiness to it. It's such beautiful expression while using a lot of the same expressive tools. And you know that kind of expression, I don't feel that that's something you can sit there and say, oh, they did this and this and this and this and this, and that's what made it sound sad or exciting. I think that kind of expression comes from understanding your subtext and your story and feeling that innately, because then you will instinctually translate it from the vagus nerve, from your emotional processing center, and go straight to your vocal folds. And that's the expression of the emotion in these two different ways. It's just beyond what we can talk about with all of the tiny physical details. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. That's when music becomes really magical to me. I'll go back somewhere and listen to it. The red handkerchief. Nice. There's so much power. I love the way he carried that up there and gave it extra distortion at the top too. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Holy cow. This last part, it sounds so victorious and then has that extra layer of the weeping in it. I love the emotional complexity that we're getting in this last held note, especially like tears to the eyes, yet somehow there's a certain joy in it. Oh my gosh. Whoa. I'm gonna go back a ways. Right. It's like there's determination, stubbornness, joy, victory, recklessness. Whoa. Look at that intensity. This held note is just, it's heart-wrenching. The way it's got so much gusto underneath it, and then there's this sort of extra fraying distortion really that he adds into the sound. And also the face looking up in the music video, I think is very effective. Wow. R.I.P. Meat Loaf. Wow, what an incredible musical mastermind. I love the composition. I love the vocal technique and the expression that come with it. It has so much emotional impact. And it's really exciting to me to have this background too of what a bat out of hell means. I just recently did a ton of research and digging into bats, the history of bats, bat vocalizations, how those are similar to various laryngeal mechanisms that metal singers employ, including Meat Loaf. His distortion actually is something that bats also can do in a really, really cool way. So if you would like to see that bat video and the discussion of how bat singing is like metal singers, deathcore singers, and maybe even a little bit like Meat Loaf, check out that video over here. May you fall more in love with music every day.